In 1993, a hush-money check worth $2 million was signed hurriedly in the dead of night, all to cover a stain left in the hotel room of a legendary R&B queen. You've sung along to her love songs every Sunday morning. You've watched their splendor on the Soul Train stage. But the studio staff of yesteryear whisper a different story, that behind that flawless makeup lay a devastating, irreversible addiction. Not drugs, not alcohol, but a frenzied addiction to the flesh. Many theories suggest this hunger was so severe it was used as bait by Hollywood moguls to manipulate and drain their very souls. Right now, we are unfolding the leaked blacklist of 21 names. You will know exactly who paid with their lives. And the name at number 1, a perfect monument whose dark secrets will surely leave you shivering in obsession. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications now, because what you are about to hear might completely shatter your cherished memories. Tina Turner, the flame that incinerates dreamers. She was always hailed as the goddess of thunder of soul music, a symbol of powerful resilience. But in the shadowed corners choked with the cigar smoke of the elite, many whispered that she was actually an untamable dark storm. The psychological scars from a marriage of hell where lashes of the whip mingled with past tears seemed never to heal. It carved a bottomless void in the soul of the songstress, the men in expensive silk suits, wearing premium colognes, did not surround her for love. They approached like blind moths to a flame, plunging into that roaring fire just to taste the flavor of power, the thrill of controlling a great icon. But they were wrong. The hunter ultimately became the prey. Deep source informants in Nevada still circulate a hazy recording of an event from 1984. That night, the stifling heat of the Las Vegas desert felt like it was breathing fire into the air after an explosive, exhausting show. When the red velvet curtain fell, Tina vanished without a trace. No one on the crew, not even her closest manager, could reach her. The disappearance lasted for 48 agonizing hours. A fragment of memory from a night shift housekeeper at the Mirage recalls seeing Tina enter the presidential suite with a young male dancer, a man barely in his 20s, his eyes still bright with dreams of fame. When the heavy mahogany door slammed shut, all sound from the outside world was severed. 2 days later, as journalists sniffed out the trail and swarmed the lobby, that young man stumbled out. His head was bowed, muttering nonsense, his entire body trembling, his eyes vacant as if his entire life force had been drained from the depths of his soul. He lacked the strength to withstand a fire so fierce and ruthless. But what the private investigators secretly hired to the scene discovered next was what truly made skin crawl. The room was drenched in trails of deep red candle wax dripping onto expensive Persian rugs. Torn silk ribbons knotted to the brass bed frame, and the musky scent of pleasure mixed with violence still hung in the air. The question remains, for Tina, were those wild, suffocating, and frenzied nights the only way she could take revenge on life, on men, and on the years of her youth imprisoned by the lashes of the past? Patti LaBelle, boiling nectar on a skillet of fire, possessing the air of an elegant, noble lady who always appeared with soul-stirring hymns from her days in the church choir. Patti LaBelle hid the heat of a volcano ready to swallow everything. The violent tear between a voice steeped in divine echoes, representing the purest of things, and a body craving frantic rebellion, created a haunting contradiction in this woman. Many rumors suggest that even at 15, sitting on her porch on sunny Philadelphia afternoons, a mere careless crossing of her legs on the steps and the glimmer in her young eyes sowed insomnia for every grown man in the area. But as she reached the pinnacle of fame, that rebellion no longer lived in stolen glances. A historical slice revealed by an old French former bodyguard who kept this story hidden for 3 decades, described a terrifying night at the renowned L'Olympia Theater in Paris. It was the winter of 1978. The biting cold of the City of Light was completely eclipsed by the intensity backstage, as soon as the velvet curtain closed following thunderous applause. Patty did not return to her hotel. She ordered a total lockdown of the dressing area, turning the backstage of the historic theater into a private sanctuary where no living soul was permitted to trespass. 4 massive bodyguards were ordered to stand watch at the 4 corners of the silent corridor. For 2 long, suffocating hours, tense as a pulled wire, the guards outside swore they heard no rhythmic music or casual conversation. They only heard the most primal sounds of ecstasy, ghastly, jagged screams echoing from behind the oak door. It did not sound like an act of love. It sounded like a brutal ritual of purification through sheer heat and lust. When the door finally creaked open, they saw her inseparable diamond-encrusted crucifix necklace, which she cherished as a lucky charm, ripped apart, discarded, and shattered on the cold wooden floor. She stepped out, her makeup smeared, radiant yet ravaged. But some believe the true story of that night remains untold. The lonely shadow that left the theater's back door at dawn was never on any personnel list or VIP invitation. Who was he? A ghost of the European elite or a secret servant she had drained dry? And what did he carry away from her into the pitch-black night? Eartha Kitt, the Catwoman of the unrelenting hunt. The signature growl in every line. Eartha Kitt sang was not merely a superb vocal technique praised by critics. Psychological analysts who spent lives studying her believe it was the primal instinct of an elegant predator crouching in the dark, patiently waiting for the prey to spring the trap, shunned by her own homeland and facing the cold shoulder of domestic media. She was forced to live in exile in Europe, but it was on this ancient continent that many theorize she honed her lethal seduction into a vicious weapon to manipulate the white elite. Men voluntarily approached her like sleepwalkers, completely hypnotized by a slow lick of the lips or a provocative half-smile under the sallow lights of luxury nightclubs. A secret report, allegedly leaked from the archives of continental nobility, unveiled a chilling fragment from the winter of 1968 at an ancient mansion deep in the Swiss Alps. That night, white snow completely isolated the estate from the outside world. A young count, heir to one of the most prestigious families, knelt before the flickering fireplace, ready to sign away a massive fortune and his noble title just for one night in her room, thick with the hazy scent of incense. Eartha Kitt did not refuse, nor did she rush. She toyed with them in the palm of her hand like a cat with a mouse. She gave them the ecstatic illusion that they were reigning, possessing a queen. But in reality, when the bedroom door closed, Eartha held the key to all these ruthless power games. The next morning, servants found the young count collapsed at the mansion gates in sub-zero temperatures. His body was tattered, his eyes dull and soulless, his mouth repeating a single hair-raising sentence, "She is not human. She is a black hole that swallows souls." Was it just the idle talk of a rejected lover, or was it a late warning about a monster hidden in layers of exquisite velvet silk, using lust to avenge a world that had turned its back on her? But if you think Eartha Kitt's manipulation was the peak of darkness, hold your breath, because the secrets lying deeper in this list will gradually strip away the most hypocritical moral shells of the entertainment world you once worshipped. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell now, because the next name, a warrior of deviant pleasures, will prove to you that hell sometimes takes the form of a magnificent paradise. Grace Jones, the warrior of deviant pleasures. If Eartha Kitt was an elegant predator, Grace Jones was a breaker of every ruthless boundary the entertainment world had ever seen. She shattered all limits of gender, prejudice, and basic morality. At the most famous underground clubs of 1970s New York, where the most decadent of the elite gathered, Grace's revelries had no rules. There, only one thing existed: absolute submission. Many witnesses present during those extravagant nights of pleasure whispered that, to Grace, men were sometimes regarded only as living furniture, expensive decorative accessories for her supreme authority. There is a chilling fragment recorded in the tattered diary of an arrogant film star who thought he could conquer this wild horse. He recounted an event backstage at the Velvet Club, a place likened to a secret underground cult. That night, the actor entered her room, thick with hallucinogenic smoke, with the posture of a hunter. But less than an hour later, the doormen saw him crawling out, clothes disheveled, eyes filled with ultimate terror. He wrote in his diary that inside that room, Grace did not use beauty to seduce, she radiated an oppressive, wild energy from her skin, glistening under blood-colored lights. She forced the proudest men to voluntarily kneel, stripping away their self-esteem through deviant power games. Her hunger was not aimed at the body, but at breaking the will of the self-satisfied. The rumor asks, how many powerful men were locked in that cult of pleasure and never found their true selves again? Natalie Cole, the Lady of Vanity Shadows. In contrast to the dominance of Grace Jones, Natalie Cole was the embodiment of a luxurious sadness, decaying from within. Hidden behind elegant evening gowns and noble red carpet smiles was a hollow soul, always craving to live hurriedly in the rawest of breaths. Born into a prestigious musical dynasty, fleeing the suffocatingly great shadow of her legendary father, she seemed to seek solace in vain pleasures and cheap lust to prove her existence. It is said that during her student years, before the spotlight truly shone, young Natalie considered dating and sleeping with 3 strangers in a week an emotional rehearsal schedule. But the truth behind it was darker. A freelance photographer who followed her during her peak years revealed a peculiar habit. Natalie frequently wore no underwear when stepping onto the largest stages. To the media, she called it artistic freedom. But those who worked closest whispered that the friction of silk against raw skin was the only way she felt alive during hours of soulless performance. Another story tells of wandering drives in the midnight fog of Los Angeles. An anonymous driver once tremblingly confessed on a local radio station that Natalie often hired his car at 3 a.m., picking up unidentified men on grimy street corners. He heard the frenzied sounds, the gasps, and the muffled sobs mingled with the heavy scent of alcohol through the partition glass. For this noble lady, lust seemed a desperate effort, a temporary painkiller to fill the haunting emptiness of someone imprisoned in a jade castle. Donna Summer, the woman who made the world, sigh. They say Donna didn't just sing, she breathed and sobbed her desire through every note, cursed by the religious for lyrics far too erotic. Deep underground, she was worshipped as the peerless goddess of the subterranean clubs. Her 17-minute hit, I Feel Love, Middle of the Night Breath, was no ordinary commercial song. Many veteran music producers insist it was a true confession recorded in a locked room, all lights extinguished, leaving only moans so real they were bone-chilling. A leaked report from Italy revealed a dark patch behind the velvet curtain of this disco queen. It was rumored that the endless inspiration for her sky-high notes came from nights of disappearing with countless young fashion designers in Milan. The most authentic slice was told by a hotel housekeeper in Rome that morning. Donna's door was ajar. She appeared in a baggy, wrinkled man's shirt, bare feet treading on the patterned carpet. 3 young Italian men lay exhausted, unconscious on a bed littered with empty champagne bottles. Donna's gaze at that moment was radiant, feral, like someone who had just woken from a sinful dream she never wanted to end. No one knows what truly happened during those 17 minutes of recording, just as no one knows how much life force she drained from how many young men in exchange for those glittering chart-topping glories. Donna Summer turned lust into a religion, and she was the only priestess. Etta James, the sob of sleepless nights, if previous names used sex to manipulate or escape. Etta James used it as an intoxicating weapon of self-destruction, with the seductive smile of a predator who had tasted all the bitterness of life. Etta was the embodiment of devastation, running away from home at 16, wandering through the darkest slums, tasting the flavor of flesh before her body had even matured, and later sinking deep into the deathly black hole of inescapable addictions. She did not hide her sordid past. She threw it in the audience's face and turned her self-destruction into immortal musical material. A chilling urban legend among black musicians is still told today about the birth of the hit Night Confessions. It wasn't written in a luxury studio. It was born right after a night of frenzy in a cheap motel on the outskirts of Chicago. Many witnesses recall that night Etta dragged the band's drummer, a massive, muscular man, into her room. The sounds of impact and frantic screaming rang out all night, preventing those in the next room from closing their eyes. The next morning, as a major show schedule was about to begin, people broke down the door. The drummer lay sprawled on the floor, breathing with difficulty, completely drained of life force to the point of needing emergency medical care, forcing the cancellation of that fateful performance. Meanwhile, Etta sat quietly in the corner, dragging on a spent cigarette, her eyes dull and bloodshot. That very afternoon, at the bottom of desperation and guilt, she dragged herself into the studio and sang the most choked-up notes in history. She never apologized for loving and craving the flesh like a madwoman. She was just desperately seeking a sliver of fragile warmth in the arms of strangers to forget the cruel reality that was gnawing at her body day by day. But stop for a beat. Do you think a fainted drummer or drained young men are the end of the horror? You are wrong. The names in the superstar and ultra-famous legend sections next are the true nightmares wrapped in velvet. Is it true that a queen of soul, who always appeared as the ultimate role model, owned a secret recording studio where anonymous musicians had to sell their souls and bodies just to be the backdrop for her infinite hunger? Janet Jackson, the key to the forbidden door. The Velvet Rope album era of Janet Jackson was not merely a musical innovation. It was a dark invitation into the most private room of a woman bored with the good girl label her family imposed. Growing up under the suffocating grip of a powerful dynasty where every move was calculated in dollars, Janet's explosion was a revolution of tears and haunting shadows. It was rumored that behind the crimson velvet ropes hanging throughout her bedroom, Janet turned that place into a different world. An interior designer once hired to renovate her Malibu mansion revealed a shocking detail. Janet requested the installation of one-way mirrors everywhere, including the ceiling and the bathroom. Why must a star observe herself in her most private moments? Many theories suggest Janet was not just addicted to the physical sensation. She was addicted to seeing herself controlled and, conversely, controlling others through those velvet ropes. She turned the stage into a confessional for secret cravings, where the deepest desires humans try to hide were celebrated like a new religion. But there is a secret security staff whispered about that night sometimes. The screams from Janet's room were not of joy, but the cries for help from those who accidentally stepped into the sexual maze she had woven. Aretha Franklin, the uncrowned queen of hidden nights. Aretha Franklin's voice was like a prayer, a sound that could cleanse the souls of millions. But beneath that heavy Queen of Soul crown lurked the undercurrents of the wildest instincts. Becoming a mother at 12, carrying the weight of reviving a genre. Aretha hid her rebellious cravings behind radiant glory and magnificent gowns. Informed circles of the time whispered about private midnight recording sessions at a tiny studio in Detroit. An anonymous musician once confessed in a band interview that he lived in a mix of fear and extreme obsession as a servant to her endless cravings. That night, Aretha did not sing. She asked him to play a melancholic ballad. Then she quietly approached, using her powerful gaze to strip away all his resistance. The most authentic slices were the smeared lipstick stains on the collars of young musicians and the moist eyes backstage every time she left the scene. A former scene guard recounted that she had a list of sacrificial victims, young men with talent, but lacking opportunity. She gave them glory. But the price was long nights serving in the dark, where the Queen discharged all pressure with limitless violence. Was it love, or a punishment for the crown too heavy for her to bear? Nina Simone, the high priestess of raging trances. Nina Simone's music was like a spell, and her love affairs were deeply colored by brutal possession, carrying the rage of the segregation era and childhood traumas that never healed. Nina loved with a ferocity that demanded absolute devotion, both physical and soulful, from her partner. Many of her lovers disappeared mysteriously from the entertainment world immediately after breaking up. Insiders then whispered that her piercing gaze during performances at cramped Harlem bars locked the souls of countless men, pulling them into a maze with no exit. There is a story of a young writer who was infatuated with her. He recounted that Nina never slept more than 3 hours a night. She used the rest of the time to test her partner's endurance. She forced him to perform bizarre requests, strange sexual rituals she called the soul's liberation. The lovers who came and went in her life were only pawns, vessels for her to pour the desperation of a lonely genius. But a leaked report from a mental hospital where an ex-lover was being treated recorded, "She doesn't look for a lover, she looks for souls to burn with her in the hell of lust." Billie Holiday, the tragic flower, blooming in the dark, known as Lady Day, or the Lady of the Night. Billie Holiday's bleeding heart always sought harbor in strange arms, white gardenias in her hair, a symbol of purity. But their roots were dug deep into the mud of abuse and humiliation. She carried hidden pains and turned them into a bottomless physical thirst. In the hazy smoke of jazz clubs, Billie was a beautiful ghost, seemingly only attracted to tyrants, those who could bring her pain equal to her hunger. A heartbreaking fragment tells of a performance in New York where Billie was discovered with bruises on her neck just before stepping on stage, but instead of being terrified, she only smiled, reapplied her powder, and whispered to her manager, "This pain is the only thing that makes me feel loved." Many theories suggest Billie Holiday was used by manipulators who utilized this pain addiction to imprison her. They provided her with violent lovers and all-night revelries, so she was never sober enough to realize she was being drained. Her sudden death in a hotel room, amidst sedative bottles and unsent love letters to anonymous lovers, remains a bone-chilling secret. Did she choose her end because that thirst became too great, to the point that no body on earth could ever fill it? Are you ready to know who is at number 10? It is an angel with a perfect smile, but a secret life so brutal it could shatter every definition of innocence. 10. Whitney Houston, the angel of suppressed desires. At number 10 is a name once considered the golden girl of popular music. Behind the pure smile, bright eyes, and a voice that could touch heaven were the choked sobs in the thick darkness. The perfection the public imposed on her was no different from a cruel gilded cage, where every gesture and look was monitored by the moguls behind the giant record labels. Terrifying rumors from former assistants revealed Whitney loved without regard for the boundaries of light or gender, a way for her to reclaim control over her own body. From the deep obsessive relationship behind closed doors with her closest female assistant to secret meetings with male dancers decades younger in anonymous motels on the outskirts. A memory fragment from a security guard at the Beverly Hills Hotel recalls a summer night in 1999. He heard the sound of violent breaking from Whitney's room. Peering through the door gap, he saw America's angel kneeling on the floor, surrounded by 3 strange men. She didn't cry, she laughed wildly, asking them to continue punishing on her. Many theories suggest that insatiable hunger was actually a form of self-flagellation, a desperate effort to find true warmth before sliding into the mire of tragedy the media had prepared. When she closed her eyes and leaned toward the microphone on stage, it wasn't acting. It was the residue of a clandestine affair that had just ended in the dressing room. 9. Chaka Khan, the wild melody of the dream realm. If Whitney was a burst of suppression, Chaka Khan was the embodiment of natural allure flowing in the blood, harmonizing with the magic of the turbulent funk era. The excessive freedom of the 70s gave wings to her most primal instincts. Chaka never tried to be sexy. She was seduction itself, a roaring energy that could incinerate any man who fell into her gaze. Audio engineers in New York still pass down an underground rule when working with Chaka. The studio lights had to be off, leaving only a single dim pink bulb so she could astral project into another self. An Italian guitarist who toured with her in 1982 tells of a night in Rome where Chaka did not use words to invite. She invited him to her room, turned on a wordless track, and let the space answer with physical touches so violent he had to leave before dawn, unable to withstand the addictive energy from her. To Chaka Khan, those long, wild nights bore no color of guilt. They were the raw fuel that made her voice burn like a Highland fire. But a leaked report from the dark web tells a more brutal story. Chaka was actually used by an underground cult as a sex sacrificial lamb to attract politicians into secret orgies. Was she the driver or just a puppet controlled by lust? 8. Phyllis Hyman, the melancholy idol demanding sacrifice. Possessing towering height and an ethereal beauty like a Greek statue carved from black marble, Phyllis Hyman hid a massive hole in her soul. The pressure of massive public expectation and the loneliness of a genius slowly drained her life. To fill that haunting void, Phyllis turned herself into an emotional vampire, draining the life force of lovers who crossed her path. Long nights in Manhattan. Music was the perfect cover for a woman always craving to be filled by physical possession. A close friend once revealed in a retracted interview that Phyllis could have sex with strangers for 10 hours straight just to escape the feeling of wanting to end her life. The darkest fragment is the night she left her suicide note. The last witnesses to see her at an empty bar said she held an anonymous young man tight, begging him not to leave, promising him all the glory if he could make her feel something one last time, when her own shadow became too large. Physical sacrifice was no longer enough to save her. Phyllis fell, taking with her the secrets of violent affairs and the unfillable loneliness of an abandoned idol. 7. Millie Jackson, the speaker of hidden truths. Millie Jackson didn't sing about love in the usual way. She sang like a woman who had just stepped out of the ruins of a dozen broken affairs, with sweat, hurried breath, and a boldness that was raw. In an era where women were still framed in fake modesty, Millie turned the boycott of radio stations into her proud crown. Many terrifying rumors in the entertainment world suggested that Millie was not only blunt in lyrics, but a true predator in real life. There is a story whispered among male dancers in Atlanta in the late 70s. A young, self-satisfied dancer caught Millie's eye. That night, she locked the luxury hotel door, threw the gold-plated microphone on the bed, and whispered in a cold voice, "You have exactly 5 minutes to make me feel like a real woman. If not, tomorrow you will be the laughingstock of my next song." Room service staff that night recounted hearing Millie's powerful screams echoing into the hallway, while the dancer remained completely silent. The next morning, he was seen leaving with trembling legs and vacant eyes. did Millie Jackson use lust as a way to punish male arrogance, turning them into pawns in a power game where she was the only one who held the rules. 6. Betty Davis, the challenger of the night's limits. If there was one name that made even the greatest jazz legends, those who had tasted enough of life, hesitate, it was Betty Davis, a symbol of wildness, a sweet nightmare that any man who dared touch would pay for with mental and physical exhaustion. A historical slice from a retired veteran audio engineer recounts during a recording session for the ballad Black Moonlight. Betty requested all lights in the studio be turned off, leaving only a few flickering candles. She suddenly stripped off her silk robe, singing with her rawest and most primal instincts. The atmosphere in the studio was so thick and stifling that the engineer had to leave the mixing desk, unable to bear the pressure of temptation and the oppressive, lustful energy she radiated. A leaked report from the personal notes of a trumpet legend who was once close to her confirmed Betty Davis was a true ruler in the bedroom. She drained the lover's life force ruthlessly and left without care for fame or pleas to stay. Many theories suggest Betty's intensity didn't come from love, but from an addiction to the feeling of absolute reign over every body she touched. She didn't need men, she needed their submission to feed the artistic monster within her. 5. Sylvia Robinson, the hidden queen of ecstasy before becoming the mogul manipulating a new music empire. Sylvia Robinson was a bold soul, using seduction as her sharpest weapon to climb to the peak of power. Many believe the legendary song Pillow Talk, with its suggestive sounds, was not acting. It was recorded in a studio with drawn curtains, where Sylvia created real physical vibrations to put into the track. A mysterious fragment remains a shadow in media files, a late rainy night meeting in New Jersey between Sylvia Robinson and a famous married basketball star. Guards at the villa that night said she only spoke one sentence as she pulled him into the closed room. "Don't speak, just listen to me breathe." The next morning, the basketball star left in a state of disorientation, and his career began to spiral downward from there. Did Sylvia Robinson use her lethal seduction to manipulate the most powerful figures, turning them into servants for her ambition and addiction to the feeling of dominance? A secret report on the dark web even suggested Sylvia possessed a collection of secret recordings of her affairs, using them as a trump card to maintain her throne in the music underground. 4. Laverne Baker, the wild beast in velvet silk in the 1950s. When society was still surrounded by strict moral laws, Laverne Baker was the embodiment of rebellion without boundaries. She possessed a modest beauty in noble velvet silk dresses, but her gaze on stage could strip every man in the front row. A bone-chilling story from the Chase Park Hotel in St. Louis is still a nightmare for longtime staff. Laverne's wild laughter echoed behind closed doors all night, mixed with the choked sobs of a lucky but pitiful guest. The next morning, the room looked like it had survived a battle. Feather pillows were torn apart. Red wine spilled on the bed like dried bloodstains. Toward the end of her life, Laverne suddenly fled to a remote island in the Philippines, cutting all contact with the world of glory. Why did a star at her peak choose exile? A brutal theory suggests she fled not for her career, but because she could not control the lustful monster inside her. An addiction that began to destroy both reason and body. She took countless wild secrets of transcontinental affairs to her cold grave, leaving a terrifying void in R&B history. Welcome to the very end of the darkness. Is your breath hurried? Is your heart racing like jazz drums in a smoky basement? We have passed 18 names, 18 lives torn between glory and lust. But everything you just heard is only the outer shell of a dead planet. 3. Jean Knight, the mistress of broken rules. The legendary song Mr. Big Stuff by Jean Knight was never merely an entertainment track. Informed circles in New Orleans, a land of voodoo curses and secrets that never sleep, insist it was a sharp declaration of war, a play to expose and humiliate arrogant men. In a third-floor apartment smelling of rotted wood and bayou dampness, Jean built a private kingdom of lust, where she was the giver of life and the taker of souls. A brutal slice told by a rare surviving witness, a male dancer who performed in Mississippi in 1971 that night. After a sold-out show, he and 2 other colleagues were invited to Jean's apartment. They entered with the arrogance of young predators, thinking they would lead the game. But when the heavy wooden door locked, the heavy scent of bourbon and haunting incense swallowed them. The next morning, neighbors saw 3 young men leave the building with vacant eyes, disheveled hair, and hands so shaky they couldn't light a cigarette. They left like survivors of an emotional massacre. One of them later drunkenly admitted, "We were willing toys in that woman's hands. She didn't need love, she needed us broken so she could sing." Many theories suggest Jean's addiction was so strong she needed the misery of men as a stimulant to maintain her supreme authority on stage. 2. Barbara Mason, the muse of secret whispers. Barbara Mason never screamed or flaunted her hunger. She seeped into the listener's mind with fragmented sounds, the broken whispers of nameless nights of love. But behind that gentle, shy exterior was a smoldering addiction to lust, an underground fire that could incinerate any moral line. Secret files from a private investigator's office in Philadelphia revealed a sinful fragment in the mid-1960s. Barbara Mason was deep in a forbidden, tormenting affair with a famous organist, a man with a wife and 5 children, shabby suburban motels with peeling paint, cheap wax candle smells, and the rhythmic beat of rain outside windows became witnesses to a sordid love. A receptionist at the Bluebell Motel still vividly remembers the sound echoing from the end of the hallway every Wednesday night. It wasn't conversation, it was the desperate scream of a woman trying to fill the void with the flesh. In that place, moral lines were completely erased, leaving only frantic hunger. It was rumored she was addicted to the guilt of being in another's arms, addicted to the smell of betrayal. Many believe those dark nights in anonymous motels created her signature choked, broken voice. But the price was the destruction of a family and a soul that would never know peace again. 1. Marlena Shaw, the Lady of Silent Cravings. And finally, the name at number 1, a monument, a symbol of coldness, elegance, and nobility that you have always worshipped. Marlena Shaw. They said she was as cold as an iceberg in the ocean, but they didn't know that beneath that black water was a volcano of lust ready to incinerate anyone who crossed her life. Marlena never begged or used words to invite. She used a powerful gaze to make the opponent surrender instantly. The most shocking event occurred at the famous Blue Note Club on an autumn night in 1975. After finishing the last track, a mysterious half-smile and a light stroke across a young drummer's shoulder began an escape from reality that lasted a week. No one knows where they went or what they did. But when Marlena returned, she was still perfect, still cold as if nothing had happened. The true secret was only exposed when Marlena died. A secret diary with pages smeared with wine and perhaps blood was found under a hidden drawer in her bedroom. The shaky handwriting confirmed a terrifying truth behind that silent, noble exterior were affairs so violent they were beyond imagination. She wrote about her inability to stop seeking physical pain, about how many young men she manipulated to satisfy her soul's hunger. The stage is where I pretend to be human, in the dark. I am a slave to myself. A line in the diary made those who found it shiver in obsession. Marlena Shaw is the top name on this blacklist, the most eloquent proof that the most terrifying darkness always hides under the most perfect shell. 21 names, 21 lives, 21 black holes of lust and fame. We have just completed a long journey to strip the masks off the R&B idols of an era. Do you find the love songs you listen to every Sunday morning now carry a different flavor? The smell of betrayal, the smell of sweat, and the smell of drained souls. These truths might shatter your youth, but they are truths that need to be spoken. Because in the glitzy world of Hollywood, the brighter the light, the deeper the shadow. Were those women victims or perpetrators? Or were they just pitiful humans pushed by addiction and power into a path with no exit? The answer? Perhaps only the old studio walls and vacant hotel hallways of yesteryear truly know. We respect their talent, but history must be viewed from every angle. Share your theories, thoughts, and most honest feelings in the comments so we can piece together this brutal history. And don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell to continue following us as we unfold the darkest, most terrifying, and mysterious files buried heartlessly beneath the deceptive glamour of Hollywood. See you in the shadows of the next mystery.